Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at the 42-piece Craftsman socket wrench set. Pretty much what it is a specialty bit set. There's no standard socket in here. There's no half inch or 9/16 or 3/8, anything like that. They're all 3/8 drive. You get a 3/8 drive ratchet, an extension, that type of stuff. If you can see here, it is made in China. Of course, unfortunately, all the new Craftsman stuff is. Hopefully Stanley Black & Decker changes that. That's what my hope and prayer is. It has a lifetime warranty. This is honored through Sears and more importantly through Stanley Black & Decker, so you can bring these items to Lowe's and they should be able to replace them. If not, call Stanley Black & Decker directly and they'll hook you up. You get to send your stuff in, of course, and then they'll replace your stuff. All right, so let's look at the case, I would say, first. So as we can see here, the hinges are the metal pin hinges, so they tend to hold up a lot better than the just plastic hinges as it is. Now this case has not really seen much abuse. It mostly sits in the toolbox, but you can see that the plastic on the case is not very good. If we look at on the hinges here, it's already, it's just poor molding for the case, the blow molded case. So there's a lot of extra pieces and bits on the hinges themselves. Definitely doesn't take away from it, but it's annoying. Just generally speaking, just annoying to have. And the latch is, if you bought anything Craftsman in the last 10 years or so, it's the same latch. It's just a metal pin latch, better than the old ones, but it's still plastic, so you have to be careful. And then if you want to lock it, I guess, which seems kind of pointless, but if you want to lock it, they got those there. All right, let's take a look inside. So inside, the molding is a lot better inside. It has, if you can see over here, the mold looks like it's wearing on this part of the case. That's not super terrible though. It still works fine. This is the last iteration of Chinese ratchets from Sears. So this is not your typical, if we look at, let me see if I can find something. If you look at this is an American one, so it's not the exact same, but it's not the style that you or your dad or your granddad are used to. It's definitely something different. This one is, I want to say, a 45 tooth ratchet. It actually doesn't feel too bad, as much as it pains me to say. All the controls are metal, so the selector switch is metal. The quick release is metal. The quick release goes all the way through the anvil, so it pops out the other side. And of course it doesn't say USA because it's a Chinese one. If we look at the insides of this one, it's just like your regular ratchet. So it's actually interesting. I never noticed this before, but it's actually held in by, it looks like a T7 or something like that, a smaller Torx bit. That's what the selector switch is for the pawl. And of course this is your stereotypical, just standard pawl. It is, it looks like 3 teeth on each side of it, and then a spring and a ball holding it in. I've never taken this one apart, so it's just lightly greased from the factory. Feels decently good, all things considered. Your teeth for your ratchet, there's some teeth that look like they're not entirely machined through, but that doesn't surprise me with these Chinese ratchets, and more specifically the American or the Craftsman Chinese ratchets. Just there's no I'm not confident in their quality control, as a lot of people are. That's why a lot of people are fleeing from the brand. But generally speaking, I mean, it's a lot finer teeth than you see normally from these older ones. They're a lot finer teeth in this one than this one. And they seem to work fairly well. They're really easy to get into, and it's nice that I don't have to worry about dropping the stuff out of it. I mean, this takes me a half a second to get it back together, just get the snap ring, throw it in there, hopefully, and push it down with the pick, and you're back in business. So, easy to take apart, sounds pretty good. Not the worst thing. I honestly have never used this ratchet before in any sort of heavy capacity, just, you know, quick grabbing it, just because I have better ratchets to use. This is not the one that I would pick, but it's in the set if you want to use it, and it seems pretty good. I don't think in a regular home, you know, usage of this set, there's no way that this would cause anybody problems, I wouldn't think. If we move on, this dog hair doesn't come with the product, in case you're wondering. It's because I have German Shepherds and they get on everything, even if it's in the garage. It gets in my tool sets and everything. Next we look to extension. It's a 6-inch extension. Again, made in China like everything else in this is. Seems to be pretty good. It has the quick release indents inside of it, so it holds on real well to the ratchet. Pretty nice overall. I mean, I have no complaints with it. I don't think it'll break, especially under normal use, if you're not using an impact on or anything. Has inverted torques, so it has your 1/4 inch drive from E6 to E8, and then your 3/8 drive from E10 to E16. So it doesn't encompass every size, so 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. It'd be nice if it didn't skip sizes, but it's not too bad. In order to use these 1/4 inch drive, of course there's no 1/4 inch drive ratchet, so it has the 3/8 to 1/4 inch adapter, and so you just have the extra inch onto your ratchet, not a big deal, and it's nice that it includes it in there. It also has your hex, so this is a decently machined. It looks like when they machined it, you can't tell because it's very, very, very small, but it looks like there's mushrooming on the top. Not something you normally would see on a nicer, higher end quality one. If you look at something like SK or Proto or Mac, on any of the tool truck brands, you don't usually see that mushrooming, but I think for the home use, it would probably do perfectly fine. That goes from 5/32 to 3/8 on this side. That's standard. And then it also has metric 4 to 10. And so this one's not as bad with the mushrooming, but it's still there. But again, for your home use, it really isn't that bad. The finish on these really aren't that terrible. There's a couple of them that are worse than others, but like this 3/8 I've used more than the rest, so of course it's going to use, see more wear to it. But overall, they're decent. I mean, it's Craftsman. Even if they're made in China, it looks like a Craftsman tool. You have your flat heads, so your 3/8, 9/32, and 7/32 flat heads. Just as you would think. You have your Phillips. These are always really nice. This number 3 Phillips I've used a lot. And it definitely grips really well. It seems to be machined really well. And the overall fit and finish of it seems to be okay. There's not really too much wear on this, and I've used this a lot. And the bit head even looks pretty good. There's only a little bit of nicks on it, but overall it's pretty nice. And you get a number 3, number 2, and number 1. And on the bottom you get torques. So your torques goes 15, 20, 25, 27, 30, 40, 45, 47, and 50. So anything from 15 to 50 that you really use, often you have, which is nice. The smaller ones seem to be a little off in terms of their overall size, I would say. These bigger ones seem to be pretty good, but yeah, the smaller ones for some reason just seem a little bit off, and it's just a tad. And then you get on the bottom side here, you get your little teeny tiny hex. And these are all 1/4 inch drive from 3/16 to 3/8. This one looks really funky considering it's a 3/8 in a 1/4 inch drive socket. So I mean, it definitely looks disproportional considering this part is bigger than this part. But I mean, I guess if you needed that, I guess it's there. I don't know why you would need it in a 1/4 inch and not use just the 3/8 one, but I guess it's there in case you want it. When comparing it, if we look at, we'll use this snap-on for example. If we look at this snap-on, this is a, let's see, this is a 5/16. I would say overall, so of course the socket, they're not the same. This is a 1/2 inch, this is a 3/8. But overall it looks, you know, similar because they're the same, you know, same basic construction of tool. The Snap-on, they, you know, all the higher end brands usually, they machine the socket part of it to the actual fitment of the Allen. Whereas this, they just press in place. I mean, that's all it is, just pressed, you know, with the hydraulic press into place, and then they just hope that it doesn't come out. And so a lot of times, I mean, you see Snap-on pins there's no pins in any of these Craftsman ones. So unfortunately, pretty much when they become loose, and you know, everybody notices that these come loose all the time. Once these Craftsmans become loose, I would probably say that they would probably fall out after a while if you're not careful with them, because you don't have that reassurance of having the pin. And then it's anything like I told you, the machining on the top. These bigger ones aren't as bad, but you can still see it's mushrooming on the top, whereas the Snap-on's completely flat. So that's the big difference between those. Price-wise, with these Craftsman sets, so I don't know what crackhead at Sears thought that it was a good idea. The original price on these things were $100, so $99.99. And man, I tell you, if you bought this thing for $99.99, you must be doing some sort of drug, because I have no clue who would pay $100 for this. Especially because at the end, Sears is selling like gear wrench and stuff, making the same thing. The gear wrench stuff is better than it, and it was cheaper. Now I got this set for $19.99 or something like that. They were always on sale for at least 75% off. So if you got this full price, I would feel bad. I mean, I honestly would say that you got screwed. But for $20 or $25 or whatever you bought it for, I mean, overall, it's a pretty good set. It encompasses almost everything that you would really need. The only thing that I think would be nice is if it got the smaller Torx. But I mean, you do get the nicety of having the blow molded case, having the nicer Chinese Ratchet. It's definitely a lot nicer than the old raised panels Chinese ones. And the sockets and extensions really aren't that bad. So I mean, overall, I would, if you could find this thing for the $20 price range, I would say yes. And I don't think that these are still available on Sears. They might be, but if you see them for $100, don't buy it for $100. It is not worth your money for $100. Go online, look at Tecton. That's a good cheap tool. Those are made in Taiwan. If you're not into the whole, you know, Chinese, you know, child labor type of stuff. And if not, you can look at Gear Wrench. Cornwell makes really cheap sets of these, and even like Blue Point, made by Snap-on, even though they're made in Taiwan, they make some pretty cheap sets that aren't, you know, break the bank in terms of how much they cost. But overall, yeah, I would say steer away from it if it's full price. If it's $20, $25, it doesn't hurt. It's 25 bucks. It ain't really that big of a deal, and it gives you the broad overview of everything with still having a lifetime warranty. That's it, guys. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave it in the comment section, and I'll see you next time.